Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Baba's here in his pink coat, as always smiling with his hand on his hip and with his signature blessing and nodding his head and saying, Baba loves and cares for all of you.
Thank you, Baba.
So Baba saying, you have anything to ask?
Yes, Baba. Today I was just thinking of asking you to do a little explanation on the God Speaks that you wrote. And there is something which says that Meher Baba distributes the 7,000 members of the functioning hierarchy for a particular age in and between the 7 spiritual planes as follows. And after that, there is a breakup given in the next page which says in the first plane and also between first and second, like that till between 6th and 7th, there are 5,600 souls. And then there's a table in which it says in the second plane there are 666, in the third plane there are 558, and like that a total of 7,000 souls details are given, which includes the majubs in the body and perfect master of the Sadguru. So if you could explain this part, that the 7,000 souls which you mentioned in your book God Speaks as the spiritual hierarchy. I think the word you used is functioning hierarchy. 7,000 members of the functioning hierarchy. So if you could explain this about the functioning hierarchy and the 7,000 people, who they are, how they get into those 7,000, what they function as, and so on and so forth.
Baba saying it's very simple. They are custodians and they are guiding angels of those planes. Not necessarily that continuously those 7,000 souls remain all the time. They keep moving from one plane to another depending on how much of spiritual work they have done and what kind of a spiritual worker they have been. So it's like when a soul departs, it's your ancestors or it's your immediate family members who are still there, and your own guiding angels, your gurus, masters, they come to heal and balm you, correct? And then they take you through the whole journey of life after death. So they are custodians. They look after the well-being of the soul on that particular plane, or not only humans but also from the animal kingdom, from the flora and fauna, because every living entity is a soul, correct? And every living entity has a journey. So even as a flower, you at the soul level, you've got to migrate from one plane to another plane, right? So then you have those elements and you have those angels and you've got those guiding souls who first familiarize you with the plane to which you simply come and say, I will say you come and land. Right? So once you land on that plane, then you've got a realization as to why you were here. What's the purpose of you being on plane 1 or 4 or 3 or 7, whatever. But as you keep moving higher, there is no need for having too many souls there. Because the souls already on the 5th or the 6th plane or the 7th plane themselves are very high and realized souls.
Okay.
Right. So at that level, you really don't need a lot of guiding angels and souls to take you through that journey.
Okay.
But where you come and land and what you will do next is like an hand-holding exercise which is revealed, where you spend enough time, you familiarize yourself. It's just the same world, but it's a world without a body. Right?
Correct.
Like a free spirit, you are moving. You're just moving from one one plane to another, and yes, you can, depending on how realized or how you're placed on your spiritual
Development status or
well-being and
well-being.
development.
Yeah.
You are able to have that immunity to move between planes, right? So many souls, like for quite some time, if they don't want to come back in a body, or for some reason they will not be given a body, then they work as angels. And when they work as angels, they keep moving from different planes with the immunity and with those guiding angels.
Right.
So because we speak in figures as humans, I'm putting a figure like 6,000 or 7,000, right? But on those astral planes or on the other planes, there's no such concept of counting. But they are beyond a number, right? So if any point in time, if there's 3 billion or 4 billion or 6 billion souls on this earth, right, as we talk about humans, it also compromises of, no, besides the human souls, there are other souls also, the plant kingdom, and those souls are also there. They also need to move on, right? So for example, a lion or a snake or a fish will not continue being in that soul.
Right.
They also have to transmigrate. Right, and those transmigration happens. There is no karmic cycle there. They just, as we all have moved on, they move on.
They automatically
move on. But once you come to human birth, then the journey becomes very different, very complex, very chaotic, and it goes through a lot of movement. It goes through a lot of hand holding. It goes through a lot of self-realization, self-actualization at the soul level, and it lands itself exactly at the plane from where you have last finished your karmic journey. So they are all angels. They are all guiding souls, which are there as custodians. They are protectors. They are workers, right? And it's actually just energy which exists, because there's no body for anyone. So one energy to another energy, you are only communicating and getting a feel of the planet, of the plane that you are in. And also I've explained, like, you move to different planets, you might, or a plane, you might go to a musical plane, right? Or you may go to a plane of art and culture and technology. So there are custodians even of those
planes.
Of those planes, yes.
So that makes sense, because the table in God Speak is big numbers to small numbers. So 666 is in, if it is in plane 1, then plane 2 it is 556, or whatever the number is, and it reduces and reduces.
Absolutely.
So that's what you explained, that it reduces because as the planes go up, there are less help required.
Correct.
Because the people in the higher planes are already very close to self-realization.
Correct. So,
and therefore you need less help, whereas in the lower plane you need more help, and therefore there are large number of spiritual hierarchy workers.
So Baba saying the best analogy I can give is when you start going to school, right? You have different subjects. You have to study them, right? If you don't study algebra and geography and history and math, you don't know that subject, right? So for every subject you have a different teacher. Correct. So at that lower level you will have, say, 10 different teachers, or maybe one teacher who will teach you 4 subjects, correct? But as you move on from elementary to, say, secondary and beyond at the uni level, your subjects keep reducing, right?
You go for specialization.
You go for majors.
Majors.
You go for 2 subjects, or you go for a double degree, or you say, I'll only major in, say, psychiatry or psychology or history or English, whatever is your interest. And beyond all that, you narrow down to maybe one subject. So when you're doing your PhD, you're all alone in control with one guide. You got it?
Correct, yeah.
Or maybe one or two guides.
Correct.
But then you have an entire system around you from where you can grasp and grab knowledge. Because you start doing your own study. So does that analogy make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. So this is exactly the spiritual
Correct.
university, if I may say so, in the spiritual
Correct.
world, in the
Yes.
different planes. As you progress to the higher planes, you are
Yes,
self-motivated, self-learning, and the system provides you. Therefore, you don't need too many coaches and
Not
guides.
at all. And your spiritual well-being is at a different level. You know, it's your spirit. You yourself are a spiritual worker.
Right.
You know.
So I understood that part. And the second thing you talked about, the 7,000 number that you gave, who are in the spiritual hierarchy of administration or support, that's more talking from the language of the earth of a number called 7,000, just to project that there are large.
Absolutely.
But in reality, there's no concept of number.
There is no concept of number. Correct.
But it just says there are large number and medium number
Yeah,
and small number.
notionally I can just say yes.
Okay. Thank you, Baba. That really gave a very good insight about the God speak, that part that you talked about. Now, quickly, in that chapter, you also talk about mazboobs and perfect masters, and then God realization. So, out of the 7,000, they also progress to those positions that you talked about. So, would you like to share more about these higher souls?
Yes, and Baba Singh, I'll build it on the topic that I actually wanted to speak today, spiritual endurance.
बाबा की जय, अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय.